Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'll be explaining on the statistics project and as well as the. So, guys, this is the article that I'll be using for the assignment project. Okay, so for this statistic project, I'm testing the claim that the average resale price for the first quarter of 2023 is this value, which serves as the null hypothesis, and the assumed population standard deviation is 1,700,000, whereas the alternative hypothesis suggests that the true mean resale price might differ from the claimed value. So now guys, now let's talk about the formula that I used to get my sample size. So I use equals count E14, which is the first row for my data, and then E44, which is the last row for my data. So by clicking enter, I get 31, which is my sample size for. I'll now move on to talk about the formulas I use to get my sample mean. So I get the sample after I found the sample mean for Ang flats and as well as Bukit Batok flats. I apply the formula equals average E45, which is the sample mean for Ang, and F45, which is the sample mean for Bukit Batok. So by inserting the formula and I press enter, I get my sample mean value. Similarly, to attain my sample standard deviation, I also use the formula equals STV dot S, and E46 is the sample standard deviation for the Ang Mo Kio flats, and and F46 is my standard deviation for the Bukit Batok flat. So by inserting the formula and press enter, I get my this value. I'll now move on to explain on the margin of error. Since I already know the population standard deviation, I will use the formula confidence.norm N18, which is the my norm significance level, and N20 is my population standard deviation, and N13 is my sample size. So by entering, I get my value for my margin of error. I'll now move on to explain on the value that I get for the claim mean population. So this value is the value that I get from the claim. And similarly, for the population standard deviation, the value as well, I got it from the claim as well. So as for the significance level, it's using 0.05 as it's using 5% for the significant level. I'll now move on to explain on the 95 confidence for population mean. So for the lower bound, which is 51,323, I take the margin of error minus the sample mean. But for the upper bound, instead of minus, I will add the margin of error and sample size to find the upper bound value. I'll now then move on to talk about the formula to obtain my test statistics. So the formula is the sample mean minus the population mean over the population standard deviation divided by the square root of the sample size. So with this formula, I enter, I get the test statistics. I'll now then move on to talk about the p-value. So to find the p-value, I use this formula, as this is a two-tailed task, and the normal distribution gives the cumulative probability up to the z-score. So the absolute value of the test statistics is this represented by the x, and this N28 is represented by the test statistics. I'll now move on to talk about the conclusion. So there's inadequate evidence to prove that the average resale price for the first quarter of 2023 is this value, as the p-value is more than the alpha, which is this stated here. With that, that's the end of my